And hello there, my dear English listeners. A few episodes ago in a German one, I said maybe I put a story that I'm working on into ChatGPT and let it translate into English, so you can hear what I'm working on since a few months, and why I don't write in English. So I'm a German person. I'm really sorry for that. I try to keep you all on my mind, but yeah, we all know I'm bad at that. But lucky for you, you don't just have like a few sentences by the story. No, you can even hear a bit more, because some people might don't speak English, or can't hear it. I don't know. So I was like my opinion was okay, maybe we should do that, but otherwise I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, but now I did, and I can change it. So I can change it. I can change this. I don't upload this episode, but I want you all to hear what I'm writing on since a few months now, almost a year, by the way. It's I'm started with taking down notes and collecting ideas over a year ago, so whoops. However, I would start at chapter 0, and like I said, ChatGPT translated it, so please don't be mad, but I'm too lazy to translate over 11,000 words. Really, I'm too lazy for that. However, let's get started. Music, please stay with me, thanks. Chapter 0. In this world, it's not practically unusual for someone to be able to send up 2 messages to their so-called soulmate in a state of emergency, purely through thoughts. The length of the messages doesn't matter in such cases, since it is, after all, an emergency. However, this is only possible with the specific give me a moment. Messages. Unless one possesses the power to contact their soulmates through other means. But people who are born with powers are rare, and when they do exist, they mysteriously disappear. The parents aren't allowed to told. The parents are not told where their child has been taken. Instead, they given another child from an orphanage or somewhere else to raise. Somewhere or elsewhere to raise. They told to keep silent about the child with powers, as speaking about it could have serious consequences. The orphan child knows about the other child, but nothing of their powers. Magical powers are not allowed in this world. People live with the knowledge that they can only communicate with their soulmate in emergencies. However, there are adults with powers who have managed to hide or have been hidden, living far away from this elation, so they or their children can learn to use their abilities. Aside from that, everything in this world is normal. There is good and evil here, just like anywhere else. There are villains and heroes. But no matter how heroic someone may be, powers are strictly forbidden. After all, they are dangerous. But what if there were a few exceptions? That was chapter 0. So me trying to get interest, to waking up the interest in all of you guys. Like I said, I'm a German person and my English sometimes is messy and often I don't know how to say it out correctly. Okay, however, I would say let's start with chapter 1. Today was another normal day in the city called Regenwehr. It's in German it's called Regenwehr, but for you guys I will say Regenwehr. Children were playing outside, parents went to work, birds were chirping, dogs barking, and cars driving by. Everything was peaceful. Until the loud explosion of the collapsing bridge shook all of Regenwehr and broke the silence. No one other than the city's villain, the so-called Devil of the Night. Damn, that sounds way more cooler than the German version. Was responsible for it. He earned this name because of his devilish horns. He also had pointed ears with star-shaped earrings, emerald green eyes, and red-black hair styled in a mullet. Actually, he doesn't have a mullet. I just was too lazy to change that. I'm sorry. He had a star tattoo on his neck and was muscular. He usually dressed in dark clothing to avoid standing out. Most often he wore a white shirt, a black denim jacket, or sometimes leather, depending on his mood, and dark jeans with chains. What he always wore was his mask that just covered his nose and fingerless gloves. However, ever since his last fight with his nemesis, the hero of the city, the so-called Knight of Light. Knight? I'm so sorry right now. He could no longer use two of his powers, since the Knight... Okay, you know what? Give me a sec. I want to see if I said correctly or not. If I don't, I'm stupid. Give me a moment. Why is it on Spanish? What the hell? Oh, no, not you. Sorry. Un momento, por favor.
Knight.
Knight. Okay, I'm saying it correctly. The knight has broken off a part of his left horn, which meant the devil could no longer fly or teleport, as both abilities depended on the horn being whole. He seemed to be thoughtfully enjoying himself while destroying the bridge that spanned a wide river. He laughed as he heard the loud, frightening screams of the civilians, but when he heard children crying, he hesitated for a moment. Only for a moment. That's when the Knight of Light appeared. He had neat, medium-length hair, ash blonde hair, and hazel blonde eyes. Yeah, okay, right. Definitely does exist. Sorry, hazel brown eyes. He was somewhat trained, and had a small scar on his neck. He preferred wearing light-colored clothing, nothing too flashy or colorful, calm and subtle tones. Subtitle? Yeah, right. Subtle tones. He wore a light blue top with long sleeves decorated with plant motifs from which veins of flowers peeked out. A scarf, a utility belt for gear, and a blue cape completed his outfit. He also wore a tight-fitting jeans and a mask in the same tone to remain unrecognizable. Unlike the devil, he was a human. A human! Welcome to the... I'm so sorry. But even he possessed powers. While the devil could freeze time for 20 seconds and create up to three objects of his choice, usable only by him, the knight could summon any kind of plant. He had to wear gloves to safely summon poisonous ones without harming himself. This way he could control them without physical contact. Through it cost him energy and focus. Additionally, he could use I have to look up how I say bleh. I'm so sorry. But like I said, my English, like in reading, is perfect, but in saying it out loud, it's really like.
Telekinesis.
Telekinesis within a 20-meter radius without even needing to look to see the object. The knight used his telekinesis to help people off the bridge and bring them to safety, avoiding injuries. Then he turned to face the devil. Well, well, if it isn't the neighborhood knight. The devil sneered sarcastically. What brings me the honor of your presence? He added, grinning wide. The knight gave him a puzzled look. He thought this was a bad time for jokes, but he still played along. Oh, the dear knight heard that you've become a plant eater lately. Before he even finished his sentence, he attacked the devil with paralyzing flowers. He liked to call them paralyzer flowers. But the devil swiftly judged them. He judged them. You aren't Dodged them, created a flamethrower, and burned the plants the knight had summoned. The knight then threw a fire-resistant plant, a puffluff, a weapon at the weapon. When the devil realized that fire wouldn't work, he made the flamethrower vanish. Spanish or vanish. In response, he froze time, rushed towards the knight, waited until time resumed, and kicked him with full force in the shin, sending him crashing to the ground. I'm so sorry. Wait, tell me. No, tell me, what does it mean? Come on.
Scoundrel.
Ah, you scoundrel! The knight groaned, holding his achingly. The devil only smirked down at him. Ah, music to my devilish ears. What the devil didn't know was... Yo, what the heck, chill? Was that the knight has already sent one of his plans underground. As the devil conjured a Styrohan pistol known for his reliability, oh god, I'm saying it wrong, I know it. Aiming it at the knight, he was suddenly yanked backward by the vine named Feslimos, that grabbed his ankle and bound his hands, arms and legs. Now it was the devil who lay on the ground. That's more like it, said the knight as he approached, grinning. The devil looked up at him, annoyed, ready to retaliate. But before anything else could happen, reporters and officers showed up. Quickly, the devil conjured a hedge trimmer to free himself. One officer noticed, but before anyone could stop him, he froze time and fled. When everyone snapped back to normal, the devil was already gone. The knight looked in the direction he escaped, but saw no trace. Still, he smiled faintly. Until next time, he thought. That thought didn't last long. He was swamped by reporters. Knight, do you know how do you drive the devil away? When do you think you strike again? Do you have time for an interview? Question after question floated at him. Some women even handed him flowers, roses, marigolds, buttercups, and many others, sorry. The knight was overwhelmed and flustered, managing only a crooked smile before saying, "Sorry, my friends, I'd love to answer your questions, but I'm afraid I don't have time." He flashes one last smile to the cameras, waved, and disappeared using his plant magic, creating stair-like platforms from strong veins. The reporters were a little disappointed, but didn't complain. After all, he was the hero. The knight, meanwhile, was still somewhat overwhelmed. He was never a fan of being swamped like that. It made him feel suffocated, like he had to fake smiles and lie, something he dislikes. He made his way towards his apartment, located near the forest that was rumored to harbor strange creatures, and where people were said to mysteriously disappear. But the knight figured that was just a story to keep children away. However, when he wasn't the hero, he didn't walk upright and proud. If only the townspeople knew that in his private life he pretended to be just one of them. I will read until chapter 2. In his private life, he wore a light blue sweater with a collar to cover his scar, dark blue jeans, and sneakers. I just have to check up one phone. Check up my phone. My friend. His hair wasn't smooth and neat like in his hero form. In fact, his natural hair was wild and chaotic. He clearly remembered how many crumbs his guardian had broken trying to tame it. That's why he was always told to comb it properly. Properly. But he rarely did, convinced that there were more important things in life. As he neared his apartment, he snapped his fingers and transformed back into his everyday self. He walked down the street with an innocent smile, until he ran into one of his neighbors. It was the young lady Jen. "Renko, there you are. Where are you? Bleh. Jeez, my tongue. Where were you? Uh, work? You're unemployed, my dear." Renko was the real name of our hero. Renko Silver, to be precise. He and Jen had known each other for about 3 years, since he was 16 and she 15. Jen had long black hair and diamond blue eyes. She loved wearing dresses with stars or flowers patterns, and today she wore one with stars and long sleeves. Oh, did I say work? I mean, I was at the bridge where the knight saved me. Both Renko and Jen knew he was a terrible liar, especially because he always stuttered when lying. "Listen," Jen said flatly. "If you don't want to tell me, just say so. We both know your lies are at best elementary school level, and even those kids could probably come up with something better." Renko opened his mouth to protest, but closed it again. She had a point. He looked away, slightly annoyed. She was right, but he wasn't about to admit it. They chatted a bit about everyday stuff. Renko managed to hide his hero identity well. They talked about a book Renko was reading, and eventually they parted ways with a hug. Once inside his apartment, Renko sighed. in relief. Lying was never easy for him. "Dad, I'm home," he called. No reply. He figured he had the place for himself. To himself, sorry. He wasn't surprised. It happened often. The newspaper from 3 weeks ago was still on the table, with a report about the ultra-villain Dark Knight. Even in the German version, he is called Dark Knight because English is cool. Who had been crushed by a debris during his attempt to destroy the bridge. Dark Knight had been the devil's predecessor. He was there before him. Renko had only faced him once, on the day he died. On the very day he died. Renko was still somewhat relieved he hadn't been there. It must have been a horrifying sight. But he also felt guilty. If he had been there, maybe he could have saved him. Instead, he'd been too focused on the second fight with the devil, which was probably meant to be a distraction. Even though there was no evidence the two villains had worked together, the thought garnered at him. He stopped thinking about it. It is how it is. It is what it is. He went to the kitchen, made himself a sandwich, and ate it under 3 minutes. After doing the dishes, he headed to his room, changed clothes, and read a book. It was about a group of teenagers who traveled through a portal into another time, where the mother of one of the twins in the group lived. But Renko couldn't concentrate. Those emerald green eyes of his enemy kept haunting him. They reminded him of the nature, the forest, the meadows, flowers. How can someone so evil have such beautiful eyes? He whispered. 2 minutes later, he fell asleep with the book still in his hand. The next morning, when he woke up, his hair was even messier than the day before. He laughed when he saw his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Then he noticed his hairbrush on the edge of the sink. Let that sink in. Sorry. Maybe I should give that whole combing thing another shot. Drink, sir, he thought. Hesitantly, he picked up the brush and started combing. Ow, ow, how can people do that with long hair every day? Okay, he actually says, how do people with long hair do this every day? He snapped, as he pulled the brush through his hair. After 10 minutes, what felt like an entirety to Renko, he was done. But he didn't like the result. He shook his head and looked back in the mirror. Much better, he thought, as his hair was wild again. He went to the kitchen and found a small note from his father on the table. Dear son Renko, unfortunately I had to leave for work early today, but I'm sure you can take care of yourself with your powers. Much love, Dad. Renko sighed, but he didn't take it too seriously. He headed to the living room to read for a bit. Since the apartment was freezing cold in the mornings, about 1 degree Celsius, he decided to throw on his gray knit jacket, oh my god, over his white shirt. He liked the cover. Gray cardigan, white t-shirt, and navy blue sweatpants. He went back to the kitchen to get something to eat, oh my god, but then noticed a strange black puddle on the floor. He crouched down to it and touched it. It was unlike any puddle he had seen before, not just in the color. It was thick, almost creamy like slime. He dipped his left hand into it. The cold texture wrapped around his skin. It was odd. Then suddenly, just as he was about to pull away, he felt something tugging his arm, as if someone inside the puddle was pulling him in. Before he could react, he was completely sucked in, head to toe. And just like that, Renko was gone. There was no trace of him in the apartment, as he had left of his own accord, but no one noticed about his disappearance, not even his adoptive father. Okay, I would say I read a part of chapter 2 and then we are done for today, okay? Chapter 2. When he woke up again, he was lying on the ice-cold floor. The room itself looked as if someone had painted the wall with the blackest black available on the market. It was pitch dark. Renko stood up. He didn't know if he was alone, if he was dreaming, or if his eyes were still shut. He blinked several times, but it remained dark. Just as he was about to call out and ask if someone else was there, a voice echoed through the room. "Ah, you both are finally awake!" The voice seemed to come from everywhere, and somehow sounded familiar, but Renko couldn't put a face to it. Then he whispered, confused, "Did he just say both?" Suddenly, lights began to flicker on, one by one. Renko found himself in a room with grey walls, a few ceiling lights, a sofa, and wooden flooring that looked neither new nor old. But there were no windows or doors, something that made him uneasy. He also noticed he was still wearing his sleep clothes and grey cardigan. "Okay, wait, wrong voice. Okay, what the hell?" Renko jumped in shock as another voice came from behind him. He spun around to see a man with brown hair, a mullet haircut. Same thing as before, it isn't a mullet, actually. Through a bit messy, emerald green eyes and round ears. The man wore a grey turtleneck sweater. Oh my god, I can't say that. Who? Wait a minute. Who are you? Sorry. Who are you? Renko asked. The man, clearly annoyed, snapped back. "None of your business." Renko fell silent. He didn't know whether to be afraid or pissed off, but he looked a bit hurt. Something the man seemed to notice. The stranger took a deep breath and sighed. "Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you like that. I just haven't eaten yet, and my day started horribly." Renko could tell he was generally worn down. That blew away some of his tension like a leaf in the wind. "Oh, don't worry about it. It just startled me." "I'm Renko," he said with a friendly smile. The man looked up surprised for a moment, then smiled back. "I'm Kilian." "Kilian? I don't know why, but that kind of sounded funny," he replied. Then the strange voice returned. "Now that you introduced yourselves, we can begin." Whoa, wait a minute," Kilian interrupted angrily. "First of all, I've known him for like 30 seconds. Second, who the hell are you? Where are you? And third, begin what?" Renko thought, man, this guy has real mood swings. He smirked a little. He looked into Kilian's emerald eyes. Just like the devil's, they reminded him of the nature's, forests, and flowers. The voice continued. "Ah, you are now in my house of survival. Each room is completely different from the last. Once you finish a room, you can't take a break. If you fail a room, you can go back. You can go back. I've been kind enough to build in some break rooms here and there. But otherwise, if you fail, you die. But not my problem. Have fun!" Oh my god, that sounded so disgusting. Renko and Kilian were both stunned. Renko raised his voice. Excuse me, what?" Kilian looked anything but amused. He stayed quiet, but his thoughts were clear. If I could punch this joker in his face, I would. I would. Then he realized something. They might be stuck here for more than just a day. Hey, clown, or whatever you are. If we're going to be stuck here for days, what are these so-called break rooms like? Will there be food, water, a place to sleep, toilets? Oh, would you shut your monkey despondent parasite? Despendent parasite? Oh, wait, give me a moment. Oh, would you shut up, you monkey desperate parasite? The voice interrupted harshly. Excuse me? Kilian shouted, his hands clenched into a fist. Hey, calm down. Renko tried to soothe him. He's probably just trying to provocate you. We don't know who he is or where he is, and neither of us has powers. Fighting him would be pointless. Kilian took a deep breath. You're right. Time passed. The two remained stuck in the room with no door inside. 2 hours went by, and neither of them spoke. But what was there to talk about? Then finally a door appeared. Okay, I read chapter 2 complete. It looked brand new, made from a mix of beige and oak, polished to shine. What the actual hell is that? Kilian asked. He knew it was a door, but he wanted to know where it came from and where it led. Hey, what the... Suddenly, they heard the hysterical laughter of the voice. It's time, my dears! You may now enter their rooms. Even though Renko and Kilian still didn't know who or what the voice was, they could tell he was grinning ear to ear. Kilian asked again. Let's be clear. Wrong voice. Let's be clear. What exactly is in these rooms? Oh, just failed test objects from the lab. Lab? Renko asked, frightening ignorance, but he already knew that children with powers were taken from their families and experimented on in the labs. He had been in such places himself. The thought filled him with both rage and fear. I mean, the voice added, kids with powers are torn from their families and tested, but there are also some I personally modified. You get to fight those, but a little warning, they haven't eaten yet. Kilian's eyes widened, and Renko was lost in memory. You're a rat who watches kids suffer, aren't you? Kilian spat in disgust. The voice didn't deny it. You're sick me. You're trying to turn us into murderers. Calm down. Renko stepped in again. What if we don't even stand a chance? Maybe if we have to fight them, we are at least freeing them from their pain and fear. Try to see something positive in it, even if it's awful. Kilian looked at him and nodded in silence. The door! The voice added. You may open the door whenever you like. Another strange silence followed, until Renko stepped forward. You're not really going in there, are you? Kilian asked, nodded silently. Sorry, there was a small cut. Kilian rolled his eyes. The freak said we don't stand a chance. But we have to try, right? And maybe we are not alone here. Kilian sighed. Even though Renko was right, it wouldn't change their situation. He still didn't trust him. Not yet. But he knew he had no choice. Just as Renko reached for the doorknob, Kilian grabbed his wrists. Let me open this stupid thing. It's a door. Yeah, whatever. Kilian yanked Renko's hand away from and threw open the door himself. Oh, that was chapter 2. I thought it would be even longer, but yeah. Well, oh my god, he did that! Oh my god, ChatGPT did it in another way. He did it like that he split it up another time. So like, actually, chapter 2 is pretty long, but he turned chapter 2, as Kilian opened the door, into chapter 3, and chapter 4, chapter 3 is chapter 4. So yeah, so like chapter 4 is chapter 5. I'm at chapter 4 actually, so like, yeah. But however, I hope you guys enjoyed the first 3 chapters. And yeah, we hear us next time. Bye.